It's the Security Weekly News. Yes, it is. It's now the 24th of March. Actually, it's not. Well, it is for you, but for me, it's not because I'm actually in San Francisco right now. So this whole thing starts to turn into sort of a Schrodinger's, am I here? Am I not here? But I'm in San Francisco, but we're airing a cool show for you this week in two parts because we couldn't fit it in one part. And so I was thinking about fun things that we could have this week, the week of 22 March on the Security Weekly News. So guess what? I managed somehow through bribery, conniving, I don't know. There was a lot of weird stuff and like cabs and bars and whatever to get Rinoa Poison to come back on the show. Rinoa was on last year and we talked about scams and scam baiting. And a lot of people liked the show. We got all kinds of great feedback. But we want to talk today about scam baiting, things you, your friends, your family, bitter enemies, colleagues, whoever might need to know about this from our perspective and the perspective of a worldwide expert. So the second half of the show will be on Friday because I'll still be in San Francisco then. So stick around for the Security Weekly News.
This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network.
We interrupt our program to bring you
It's the show that keeps you up to date on the latest security news twice a week. Your trusted source for accurate security information and expert analysis. It's time for the Security Weekly News. Zero trust is clearly the future as threats get faster, quieter, and harder to detect. But implementing it shouldn't disrupt the business. ThreatLocker enforces default deny at execution in a way that remains enterprise-ready, scalable, and operationally clean. Unknown software is stopped cold, trusted apps stay contained, and drift is locked down across the environment. It's zero trust that works in real enterprises and prepares you for the threats ahead. See why CISOs are adopting it at securityweekly.com/threatlocker. Ever feel like your network infrastructure is stuck in the past? Meet Meter, the company reimagining what it means to get and stay online. Meter delivers full-stack networking, wired, wireless, and cellular, all in one seamless, scalable, and secure solution. From hardware design and firmware to software, deployment, and support, Meter streamlines every part of your network while giving you all the control and transparency you need. Whether you're managing a branch office, retail stores, or a massive data center, Meter gives you performance, reliability, and the visibility you need to stay in control. Thanks to Meter for sponsoring. Go to securityweekly.com/meter to book a demo now. That's securityweekly.com/meter, METER. All right, welcome to the Security Weekly News, episode 566. I'm Doug White, and this is a special episode with the ever-exciting Rinoa Poison. Hey, Rinoa, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm okay. I brought Josh today because we both wanted to talk to you about some of the things that you do. Rinoa Poison, if you don't know, and you're a lot more likely to know Rinoa Poison than you are to know me, because Rinoa is a podcaster who is focused on scam baiting and has over 300 and something plus videos, 107 million views. So that's about 990,000 more than I do. So yeah. So I mean, a lot of views. So hi. So how are we doing?
Good.
We have more time this time than when you were on before. But can you? The thing I think I wanted to ask you most was, how did you get into this? I mean, like I looked up your background, so I was being all stalkery this week, and I was like, I'm gonna research this person more, and I saw you were like a performing artist and all these kind of things, and I was like, and it said, how did you get into like scam baiting? How does somebody just go from I'm an actor, and suddenly it's like, no, I'm on the phone with a guy named Raul from East Indies, and I'm trying to take him down.
Well, I mean, it started out in COVID, if you remember that, long time ago now, right?
Yeah.
They laid us all off from work, and I kind of just had a lot of free time, like everyone else at the time, right? And just one thing, I was like watching some videos on YouTube, just kind of killing time, trying to figure out what to do, right? And I've always been fascinated with YouTube, and I've always made little videos and shorts, and always been, charismatic in that regard. Um, Made a video for it, took off, and I didn't expect it. I landed a job again, so I started doing that, and the videos just kept taking off. I wasn't even like, I kept getting comments and views, and it was overwhelming. It was like kind of like I was like, oh my gosh, this keeps happening. Like I'm at work, and I'm just seeing all these comments and stuff, and I decided to give it a shot. 6 months later, I started making videos again, started streaming on Twitch, and it just kind of the ball kept rolling, and yeah, it was here we are today. It's honestly, it's awesome. I'm so like just blessed to be able to do this kind of stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I literally when I first was looking for something like this, and I was like, who's the most viewed person? I was a little like freaked out by it because I'm old, so I haven't been on the cutting edge of all this stuff. And I remember seeing Logan Paul running through the plaza in Mariannaplatz in Munich, and of course, I was like, look at that guy. I was like, why would you do this? Because I saw this guy, the shirtless guy, all oiled up, running through this massive crowd of people gnawing on sausages. And I, of course, I was like, why would you do this? And my daughter was like, oh, this is Logan Paul. And I was like, oh, it is? I was like, well, yeah, I was like, is he that guy that invented COBOL programming? And my daughter was like, no, he's a YouTuber and blah, blah, blah. And then, I went and looked it up, and yeah, okay. So that's pretty cool. I mean, I'm glad you get to do this stuff. It sounds fun.
Yeah, now he's a professional wrestler.
I thought he was a failed boxer.
Oh, that's his brother.
I think that's his brother. Yeah.
Oh, is that? Oh, I'm sorry.
The other one's a wrestler.
I was getting ready to go wrestling. I mean, I was thinking that could be my next big move. It's like when the university shuts down, I could go pro wrestle.
I already did
it's
that.
Where everyone's going.
I worked in the jails. I'm okay.
I could be a bad guy though. I was like, I want to be one of the villains in pro wrestling.
You need the mask. You need the mask.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What is that called? The people with the masks.
Luchadors.
Luchadors. Yeah. I could be an evil luchador. I'll be the demon from New Jersey.
Have we gone off track? Okay, so
the Jersey Devil. But all right. Anyway, okay. So, well, another piece of this for you, Rinoa, was you have so many views. You even have a community, right? I mean, you have like a following. Like I don't have that. I think there's some guys behind the alley, behind the pool hall that sell meth, and they know who I am. But I think that's about it. But you have a following.
Yeah, we have a really, really tight niche community that
Nice.
they're very they're just awesome people. They help out with so much. I couldn't do this on my own. When I started, it was pretty crap. To be honest, it was all thrown together. Barely knew what I was doing. A lot of people from the community has helped with so much with virtual machine setups and getting scammers and this, and it's just amazing. It's amazing.
So
Okay,
I want to talk about that too in a bit. Go ahead, Josh.
Actually, I want to hit on that for a second, if you don't mind. So they feed you scammers. They set up virtual machines for you. They sort of prep the scene, is what I'm hearing, and then you show up to actually perform the act. And it's not an act, I know that, but am I vaguely correct?
Yeah, that's it's a lot of it's because you got to make the virtual machine, because there's a lot of tells on a virtual machine where it says it'll just say virtual machine on there, and there's a lot of spoofing the computer to look more real. Yeah, it's.
Oh,
but it is an act though. I mean, I mean, I don't think that's insulting. I mean, it's like an acting job, right? I mean, because you're playing a part. We'll talk about that in a little bit, because I know you have some characters and stuff too. So I did a lot more research on this. So, but I think the first thing I want to talk about in this segment was like, do you pick a scam? Do you have a like, here's a scam I'd like to go after, or is it just like, who's the most entertaining scammer we can focus on?
So there's a lot of them that are really, we call them sus, they're suspicious. They'll like be kind of, onto you if you're messing with them. A lot of times very rarely, I will say this, we get these emails that are just like butchered, right? You can tell they had no help setting these up. The logos are like with the PNG with the background that wasn't cut out. Like they're really bad. And I love those, because those are the scammers that will not pick up on anything you say. Mm-hmm. They're like a treasure trove of just, you can mess with them. they do not know what's going on. But those are my favorite. You can always tell when you see the email, like nobody would fall for this kind of email.
Yeah, I had
So-
a friend once who liked to go after like the beginner 3-card money dealers that were standing around outside the Port Authority that really didn't, they were trying to learn this profession of and that's not really a scam as much as it's just a, street con. But, my friend would go after the ones, he would watch them and he could tell who wasn't very good at it. And he would go over and make a big, it was kind of like what you were doing in a way. He'd make a big fuss about it. It was almost turning into like performance art kind of thing. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah, because I guess you don't really get to choose what comes in, right? You can't say, oh, I'm going to go after the, scam collective today. It's
I don't know. There's so many scammers out there these days. I imagine that you have a plethora to like, ooh, pick a scammer, any scammer type of thing. Like, I have to imagine that. Is that real, or is it just like it's hard to find them? I'm honestly curious.
There's no shortage of scams for sure. There's a lot of people that are scamming. It's you find a lot. It depends on when you see the calls on YouTube. Those are usually the best of the best, right? We're putting the ones that we find to be the funniest, or the ones that are, you don't see all the calls on the live stream that we, the community that's hardcore that sits and watches everything. Those are the ones that we have so many fails, and we call and, you get cursed out or whatever, they catch on. But yeah, you see the successful on YouTube, and I think some people see that and they're like, oh, well, you must have, but there's so many fail. It's the door knocking thing, right? You knock on 100 doors, you'll eventually get a sale, right?
One sale. Yeah, exactly. It's a numbers. So what you're saying is it's a numbers game for scam baiting. You
Yes.
have all the fails, and eventually you have one that you're like, we're putting this on YouTube. That was beautiful type of thing.
Yeah, and there's even the calls that we will waste the scammer's time, but nothing really happens. The jokes aren't landing, or they're really not playing ball. They'll like sit on the phone and they're not really talkative, and that happens quite often. But it's still worth wasting their time reporting the information we get. So there's always a succeeding. But those aren't. They wouldn't be interesting to put that on YouTube. They're going to be like, "What is this?"
I tried to Foley one once. The guy called me and I was running. What I did was I was like, oh, could you, what? No, not a Foley catheter. Oh, come on.
I'm sorry.
You can see where this goes. No, like a Foley for a movie. I was literally, I like, can you hold on for a minute? I'm very interested. And I laid the phone down and then I started making all these like elaborate noises in the background. Like a hair dryer, and then I was just like doing Foley noises, like like I was wishing that I had like some coconuts or something so I could do some horses coming in, and I was pretending to talk to a salesperson at the door and all this stuff just to see how long would this guy hold the line, and then I just kept making really weird noises, but he finally hung up. So it wasn't that exciting interaction, but I was having fun.
So
my grandfather used to do the same thing. He would he would answer the phone and then he would just put the phone down and walk into the other room.
Yeah, and then you can make weird noises in the background and let them wonder what the hell's going on. I was actually thinking about like staging like a murder or something. So I was like, wonder what they would do if they heard that going on in the background, because we did one early on the internet days when we first started having like video. One time I was doing a class and I had one of my friends come in with like a ski mask on and just sort of walk. He walked behind me carrying like a television set and I was acting like I didn't see it. And all these students started like, and then we didn't have all these fancy things. The students started going, hey, there's something going on behind you. I was like, what? And then he goes by carrying something else. And I was just like, what? I keep hearing steps, but I don't know what's happening. But yeah,
oh, you're horrible. The call is coming from inside the house.
I think my best one was there was this guy whose name was Randall. That was what he told me, and he called us, and it was one of them. I answered the phone, and he was telling me all this stuff, and I literally led this guy on for like days. We kept interacting. It wasn't like a continuous thing, and I wish I'd filmed it. Because it literally went on for days until he was trying to get me to come to this airport in Toronto. He was like, can you come to Toronto? I need the money. I need the money in cash. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to come to Toronto. Or are you going to be there? And I finally, he was actually there at the airport and I was talking to him on the phone and I was saying like, I'm like about 6'7". I've got on a top hat. You should be able to spot me. Just keep looking around. like, you don't see me? And he's like, no. And I was like, I'm waving. What do you look like? And he was, oh, well, you know, like, I'll wave higher, put your hand, you know. And I was like, my hands are as high as they will go. People are looking. It's getting embarrassing. And then he finally hung up on me. But I saw that you messed with some guy named Max Silverhammer or something for like 60 hours. Is that true?
Yes. What a character that guy was. Oh my gosh. So yeah, we stayed on the phone over the course of, I think it was like 6 months. It was on and off, and he would call me constantly. And we played this character, and she was outrageous, and they were like in love, and she was obsessed with mayonnaise. And I brought some other scam baiters on to help me, and they also were like playing my, brother and
Are you
like the
serious?
police officers. It was wild. It was wild. This guy fell for again, one of those where they don't realize they're being messed with, and you could just get away with so much. And it went on, because I had like another scam baiter play my father, and we were both going into the bank with mayonnaise jars, and he's like, put the mayonnaise in the car. It just was wild.
God.
Wild.
The mayonnaise obsession raises so many possibilities that it's terrifying.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of the South Park episode where it goes, and if you hear a sound like this, that's them having sex with the corpse. And you're like, what? Why did you do that? Just because, you know?
Oh my God.
Sorry.
Oh my
I'm sorry.
gosh. No, it was,
Oh my God.
I mean, the guy, his name's Deo. He's an awesome scam baiter as well. He doesn't do too much, but when he does, he's hilarious. He was the scammer believed that he was taking some spicy mayonnaise and rubbing it on his crotch, and the scammer was like, "Why are you doing this?" It was just wild. It was wild, and like, it's just, we're over here screaming in this bank, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun when you get away with this kind of stuff.
Okay, so how often do scam baiters work together? I never realized that y'all work together like this. Is this a common thing, or is it just when like, this one's really on the hook, come help, you know?
I suppose it depends. I guess everyone collabs differently. I've worked with people in the past. I don't work with people as much, just because I've had some, obviously everyone's different, and
Yeah.
you
I
get
was just
some
curious.
bad apples in the community, and I've kind of stayed away from working, but there are people that I would happily work with again. And,
Okay.
I guess it's, it depends.
If you ever need an extra, please know that Doug and I are here for you. Okay.
And there's nothing Josh can't do and has already done.
Well,
because it's like, whenever I think of something strange, like, I wonder if I knew somebody who could, like, swallow razor blades. Josh is like, oh yeah, I was an assistant to Penn and Teller for like 12 years.
no, that's not true. I was a
I know,
blacksmith.
that
I
one's
can
not
make
true. I
razor
made that
blades,
one
but I
up.
don't swallow them.
But Josh
So-
has worked everywhere. He's a prison guard, Bourbon Street bouncer, and, stuff like that. So
Horse
he
dentist.
doesn't
You forgot
have to
horse
come up with
dentist.
personas. He already has them.
This is not untrue. I was a jail guard down in Louisiana. I bounced on Bourbon Street during Mardi Gras. I was a horse dentist, InfoSec, standards author. I've done a lot of weird shit. And people like, Josh, is there jobs you haven't done? Yes, never been an astronaut. Probably too old at this point, but what the hell?
Yeah,
So,
it could
but
happen.
Rinoa, like this type of work, this scam baiting, requires not just acting, not just setup, not just prep, not just massive technical expertise to, as you put it, set up these virtual machines so they don't look like virtual machines. You can have them log in using any of the remote control software that they use, dropping malware, and they're like, haha, I've got you, and you're like, no. But this requires a lot of different skill sets. Like, seriously, this is crazy. Is there anything that's ever you went, I don't know, that's I don't know that, I'm gonna have to learn that real damn quick?
Absolutely. There has been pretty much every single day. There's always something of a little bit of a hurdle or learning something new, right? And you kind of just have to. Luckily, there are just so many smart people, because it attracts that tech crowd. It very
Yeah.
much does. Everyone that's from tech backgrounds, and they're the geniuses that make all this work. Honestly, the banks and setting it up to be so real, and like it hijacks the real. So it's the real bank. So the scammers will sometimes use the real link to the bank to try to get you. Oh, I got you. Log into the bank now, and it will just log into my fake bank, because it hijacks the real bank, and so they're thinking, I got you now. I got the URL. There, you're not going to get away from me. But it goes right into the bank, and then they're like, well, maybe this is the real bank because it clearly worked. So it's nice.
If you fix your hosts file, then it doesn't go out to the DNS, and then you're actually in Bank of America. I just happen to have America right here. Detail.
Have they
Exactly.
gotten? I think you said earlier that they got smarter and they're harder to find. I think I at least what I've seen too is like I don't get nearly as many of those Nigerian prince type letters that are a bunch of misspelled words and my name is misspelled and all these kind of things that I used to get, and the ones I get now are very sophisticated.
I think that a lot boils down to AI. I think AI is helping scams tremendously, and unfortunately they just get more, they look more legit every single time because AI is just getting so much better.
Can I ask a question about that? Because I find that fascinating. Because it used to be, as I understood it, that the grammar mistakes that we used to see, that if that's a Nigerian prince 419 whatever scam crap, right? But the point was to have the grammar mistakes in there, the grammatical errors in there, because the people, and I don't mean any offense, but the people dumb enough to fall for that are the ones they want to get on the phone anyway, because they're dumb enough to fall for that. So, but are they fixing that? So they're now going after a different group of people, or do you know what I'm asking?
I don't. Maybe we're giving the scammers too much credit on that. Maybe maybe their target was always just everyone, and it just happened to be that the grammar mistakes were targeting the people that were the most likely to fall for it. And now that they can fix those mistakes, now it's just targeting a wider, basket of people, and probably what's happening.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of levels to that too, right? I mean, there's obviously scammers who just want your creds. If they can just get you to click a link and they can grab your login password, because I get those all the time, and they're obviously targeting the university. So you get them and they're from the president of the university saying, we're going to have to cut your pay. But then that one turned out to be real. But I mean, sometimes they're like, you can't tell which ones are real and which ones are fake. But I agree with you. I think they're always were going after whoever would bite, because that's the way scams work, right? You always have to cast a broad net and just say, okay, I'm going to see who I can come up with. It's the AIs make a difference, though. I think that makes it, because now they could literally get you on the phone, just like you could do them, and I could have AIs running and asking questions about the person I just got on the phone, so I can find out, whatever is out there, I can find out, because I was playing with this yesterday with Claude, and I was asking Claude questions about various people. And it was just boom, and then they have these two kids, and it was like, wow, this thing knows an awful lot about people that I could really use to spearfish somebody.
Yeah, and that comes into like data collecting, and that's a whole nother topic of, just problematic, especially with Google and Apple with the AI, or not the AI, but the ID verification that's coming around. Everyone's going to be having to show, and that's only one data breach away from everyone's information being readily available for anyone to, just browse. And that's another problem in itself, right? Privacy is going away. And then you have AI is just collecting that data in itself. And then you could just type into the AI, oh, what about this person? And then you have their, address, their full name, whatever you want, really.
Yeah, I mean, like this guy tried to scam my parents one time, and he was basically using a high school yearbook to do it. He had the high school yearbook, and he was using that to get names. I mean, he wasn't carrying it with him, but I could tell where he got it from, because, and my dad was like, do you think this guy's legit? And I'm like, no, he's not legit. Shoot him in the face. Because this was physical stuff. Like, this guy's literally at my parents' house, at the front door, and my dad's like on the phone in the background while my mother talks to him. And of course, little did he realize my brother was the chief of police and was connected to every federal agent in the tri-state area. And within minutes, there's like 14 police cars blazing over there, and I'm like, boy, did he pick the wrong house.
It's going to be a bad day.
Yeah, you're about to have a bad experience. But let me ask you this then: is there a point where you say, I'm out, because this is either it's too scary, or it's too threatening, or it's just the person is just kind of frightening? I don't know. It's when it's virtual, it's not the same.
I suppose sometimes when it gets a bit like they start to realize, who you are, what you're trying to do. Sometimes it can get a bit like it depends on, like if they're cursing, it's fine. It is what it is. But we don't I don't really tolerate the racist stuff. Sometimes they get a bit like in that angle and I pull off. I'm just like I'll hang up and just be like, let's move on to the next one. It's not worth
Much
digging into that,
respect. Much
yeah, they
respect.
have
Well done. Bravo.
so anything like that, I usually bail on that stuff. But for the most part, I guess everything's kind of just like as long as they're cursing at me, I don't mind. I find it to be hilarious when somebody's just so tilted and angry at you, and you're just like, it's a waste of time for them to be angry at you. They should just, you know what I mean? But it's fun. Why not?
I mean, do you have like any training in that, like interrogations and stuff like that, so that you can read these people I mean, because there's obviously a skill to this. It's not just I just talk to them. It's about being able to mislead them but keep them engaged, right?
I have no idea where that would come from if I don't have any like, interrogation, like, bad cop, good cop kind of thing.
Where were you on July 3rd, 2005?
Maybe you should do that. You should do both personas. You could be the good cop and the bad cop. That would be, and the crazy cops. You could do all three of them at once. That would be funny.
Okay, just sit here. I'll go get my partner. Come in.
Yeah.
Damn it, where is he?
Don't let me smack you. I got a sack of grapefruits here.
So you don't have formal training in interrogation or questioning, but obviously you're pretty damn good at it.
Yeah.
The only thing is I did D&D for a very long time with some buddies and everything, and I used to do the game master, so I was all these NPCs and what do you want to buy some wares? That kind of thing. So I suppose that is the element of where I get my sort of...
Yeah, you got to keep backstories in your head for multiple NPCs whom they may be interacting with at any given moment, and you have to change your persona on the fly with your characters who are sitting right next to you. Like it's not like
I used to do that too, and it was literally like I got to deal with this person, then that person, and this person over here, and it's all different sort of personas in that. And
that explains a lot about you, Doug.
Hey, I'm still faking it, but I'm not sure which persona this is. I did want to ask you though. So obviously this. Watching your show and all this makes this come off as super sexy, like fun. Like I want to do this too. And I guess as we get close to the end of this segment, I wanted to ask you, how dangerous is this? And when people at home are starting to go, I'd like to also be a scam baiter. I'm going to set up a Twitch feed and start doing the same thing. How dangerous do you think this is for people to do?
I mean, the risk is always there. You never want to use your real information. That is something that you always have to be cautious about. The internet can be a bit so I'll give an example. For me, when I first did this, I had a mod come to me who is, tech guy. And he's like, hey, don't mean to scare you or anything, but I have this PDF of everything of you. Like I have your real name, your everything. He's like, you're going to want to burn all this on the internet if you want to continue doing this. And I was like, got it. Okay. And that's what I did. I tried my best to scrape everything that was associated to my real name and all that stuff. So I think I did a good job. I don't know. But there's always that risk. There's always that, you got to be careful of what you're doing online for anything really, right? Whether it's gaming or, podcasting, you always got to be careful about your real information, what's public and what isn't. And then that's the same thing, because you have to think you're taking money away from these guys, right? Like they're not exactly cheery or happy when they lose out on money. You always got to be careful of that. There's always risk.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think that too, and sometimes I was messing with these guys, and I obviously had not taken steps to, just they knew who they called, I guess. So I did want to advise people out there not to actually do this. I think unless you have had some consultations with you have a community, but somebody's sitting there basically saying, I'm going to try this. And I got a little nervous about it because I was talking to one once and he started threatening me and saying, we're going to come over there. we know who you are. We're going to come over there. We'll be waiting for you because, you're messing with us and whatever. So I think you have to be careful about this. I mean, it's not just physical danger either. It's if you're messing with somebody, you want to be sure. So we talked a little about virtual machines. That is probably the most critical component of this, is you've got to have a sandbox that you can burn down at the end of this endeavor, right?
Of course. And also like a VoIP number, or something that doesn't tie back to your real phone number. You don't want that being leaked. You don't want people calling you, even if it's strangers, just not even scammers, right? Like just people on the internet. You never know, right? You got to be careful of that.
Yeah, I think you could. Yeah, you would probably want to set up a whole sort of fake environment,
Ecosystem.
fake phone, fake person, fake information. Because I know when I used to do undercover occasionally, and which is sort of the same thing. It's like I'm talking to some biker who wants to meet a 12-year-old girl on the phone. Yeah, you didn't want them having your real number. You didn't want them being, accessed by your IP address, even, because I didn't want anybody backtracking this. And we worked to set some of that stuff up too, so that, because people got smarter, they started scanning IPs and usernames and looking for, like, is this a brand new username that was created this morning, or was this, has this been around for years? And we started encouraging them to set up, personas that would persist for a while so that they could, look a little more legit. Pretty scary stuff.
Yeah, you basically have to become a new person when you do this. It's not like you just get on front of the camera and everything's just peachy. There's so much that goes in behind the scenes of calling and making sure that you're protected. You have a virtual router and a virtual machine through Linux, and just in case they break out of the virtual machine, they have another operator. Whatever it is, you just have to have precautions, because if you just don't, I've seen people where they have gotten to their host machine, and then you're kind of screwed if they get a hold of that, and then you're in a whole world of trouble. And it only takes one time, and then it's hard to come back from that. That's the big risk.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely be running this on a virtual machine that's not actually running on my local machine, and I would probably run on somebody else's machine, like say Amazon, because I used to feel like that it was really tough to break out of virtual environments, and then it started happening, and it is doable. So just understand that just because you set up a VirtualBox Linux on your desktop or your laptop is not going to necessarily protect you if you're actually allowing them to touch your machine. So do you actually allow them to get in? I mean, like when they're wanting to install Log Me In or whatever?
Onto the virtual machine, yes.
Well,
So
obviously, yeah.
Yeah. We have a virtual machine that's out of where we are. So it's a virtual machine at a university, actually. So we can log into there, and it's safe and secure on that side of things. But yeah, it's a risk. It's always going to be something. And if they do manage to, we shut the computer down. If ever should that happen, immediately just shut down. You try to, like, stop whatever is going to happen there. You want to cut it off right there, and then back away. This guy obviously knows too much.
Yeah, like you have an axe to chop the network
I was
cable.
just thinking, like,
okay, I get it.
Yeah.
There's the Ethernet cable. Oh,
Are
that's
you
a
just
problem. Whack.
Sitting there with the wire cutters on the cable. Yeah, like, oh. Yeah, I mean, it definitely was fun, but it definitely made me paranoid too. I was, my wife was like, "What are you doing down there?" I was like, "Oh, I was just messing with this guy who's trying to rip us off and pretending to be my dad." Because that was always my persona, was my dad, who, just like, what? Any key? What key? I don't know. And, like, oops, I've rebooted again. Hang on. Let me restart this. It's Windows 3.1. It's going to take a while.
I got
But,
the door
yeah, it
open.
was-
Door? It's the microwave. Isn't that what you meant? Okay.
Well, yeah, one time I actually was on, these were all on the phone, so there was not a lot of risk. There were people that called. And one time I was pretending that I got confused with the microwave. And I was like saying, so it seems to be running. And he was like, no, I'm going to need you to type. And I'm like, well, I don't have any like letters on here. You type it on the keypad, and hang on, my hot dogs popped. It's like, and then I laid the phone down and just like made a lot of beeping noises for a while, and they hung up. But All right. Well, thanks all of you for watching the first half of this show, which went by way too quick. I will be at RSAC all week, and Josh as well will be at RSAC this week. So please stop by if you're there. Thanks to Rinoa Poison for this first chunk, and all of us are going to be back on Friday with part 2. So I hope you'll tune in there, and we'll see you then.